All right, everybody, welcome into Patriots Postgame Live after a big win against the Buffalo Bills to give the Patriots the #1 seed in the AFC. I mean, they already had it to contain or to stay in first place in the AFC after the Ravens loss to the Steelers on Sunday that dropped them down. The Patriots were sitting at the top, and it was like, okay, well, you're at the top right now, which is great and nice, and hopefully you can stay there, but you need to beat the Bills first. They go into Buffalo, and honestly, once you saw the conditions, but going to Buffalo was a daunting task. Mac Jones was 5-0 on the road. He now 6-0 on the road, but he goes into Buffalo, and you start to think, this is a tough situation. Going on the road against the Bills, they've had a good season. They have a good team. Like I understand all the stuff about them playing a little bit, them being a little bit overrated, them playing an easy schedule, all that. All that's fair, all that's valid. But going against the tough team, a team that has a lot of talent, going up against them, and essentially, being that first game on the road, I think people said it, and I think it's fair. I think it's true. The biggest game for the Patriots since the Titans playoff game. The biggest. No question about it. And you're riding this 6-game winning streak. And whoever wins is in first place in the AFC. To go in, when they went in, it started to feel like this is a tough spot. This is a tough spot. Maybe this is where they finally lose. And then, I don't know if you guys felt the same way I did, but as soon as you saw the weather, right, the gears started to turn. Oh, this is going to be this type of game. It's going to be bad weather. It's going to be windy. You're not going to be able to pass the ball very well. It's going to be a defensive game. Not a lot of offense. Like, the Bills, their passing game, better than yours. And I don't think that there's no shame in that. With Stephon Diggs, even you want to throw Cole Beasley in there, Emmanuel Sanders, Dawson Knox has been great. The Bills passing game with Josh Allen down, they have a good passing game. Bills have a good passing game. Once you saw the type of weather that they were going to be playing in today, once I saw that, I said, oh boy, this is lining up for the Patriots. This is good for the Patriots. Imagine being the Buffalo Bills, playing at home, and it working against you, playing in Buffalo, working against you, because the Patriots are better built to play in a game like that with those kind of conditions than you are. That is a hard pill to swallow, honestly. How do you accept that if you're Buffalo, that you got beat because you are Buffalo? You got beat. You can say, a lot of the other things that factor into the game, Patriots running game, their game plan, even you want to throw that in because, hey, people can be mad that they only passed the ball 3 times, but it worked. The fact that they were so run heavy, what they did, going for 2, putting the Bills in a spot where they're down 4, they have to go for it on 4th down, they can't kick the field goal to tie it. Like a beautiful, beautiful A+ game from Bill Belichick. A+. One of his shining moments, if you want to call it that. Really. For Belichick, absolutely. But for Buffalo, to feel like you lost because you're Buffalo, because you play in Buffalo, like that is such a Bills thing to do, such a Bills way to lose. Like that is very, very unfortunate. Now, if you're the Bills at least. Now, for the Patriots side of things, you win your 7th straight game. 7 in a row. Like, what more can you even say at this point? They've done everything. The challenges that they've faced to get to this point, I mean, it's gotten progressively, you could say progressively more difficult. I don't know. You've had a tough stretch. So ever since you got out of that Jets game, right? You get out of the Jets game and you say, okay, and I said it. Here's what we're going to learn. Here's where we're going to learn something about the Patriots. You had all teams that are playoff caliber teams that were in the mix, whether you're talking about the Chargers, the Panthers, the Browns, the Falcons, who are in the playoffs right now, in the playoff picture, the Titans, the Bills. Okay. And I just thought the first 4 was enough. If they had gone 3-1, that first 4 wouldn't happen. They go 4-0. And then it's like, okay, can you keep it rolling? Can we really expect 4-0 from them this stretch? Beat the Falcons easily. Okay. Wow. All right. Hey, we go up against the Titans. Titans are a little banged up, but can you really, 5-0, like they're still a good coach team. Is it a trap game a little bit? Even if the Titans are a little depleted, they still have good elements, good coaching, and you almost lost to the Texans. Like this Titans team, are they better than them even in their depleted state? You beat the Titans handily. Then you go against the Bills, your toughest test yet in Buffalo, and you beat them. I wouldn't say handily, but you didn't really have to fight for this one. I mean, you go up 8-0 on the Damian Harris run, where Buffalo just the defense just blows that play. I mean, I understand Buffalo loading the box, and I don't think that was a bad strategy at all. I really don't. I think that was obviously the way to go with how much the Patriots were running the ball, right? But to it to the extent that Damian Harris the Patriots just have to block helmet to helmet, and Damian Harris, runs 7 yards, and then he's got daylight. Like that is unacceptable, honestly. If you're the Bills, like that, you can't do that. You can't play defense like that. You see teams line up like that on a 4th and 1, on a 3rd and 1. Short down distance, short distance, late in the downs or whatever. The Bills lined up like that almost every play, and they broke one. The Patriots eventually broke one. What's gonna happen if you're playing a good running team and you play like that all game? You're gonna get burnt, and you really do have to give Bill Belichick credit, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot of confidence in your team, a lot of confidence in yourself to just say, we are just going to run it. You understand that nobody does that. No team out there throws the ball 3 times in a game anymore. Nobody will do that. Nobody would ever do that except Bill Belichick. He's the only person that has the backing, that has the requisite amount of gravitas or sway or just just leeway to say, I'm just going to run it all game long, and I don't care. I'm going to get in 3rd and long, and I'm going to run it. I don't need to pass it. I'm going to get in 3rd and 4, and I'm going to run a QB sneak on 3rd and 4. And then I'm going to run the same thing on 4th and 1. Like the amount of just balls it takes to just line up and run it all game and not pass it. I don't care. I don't care if I get 3rd and long. I'm just going to run it. I'm still going to run it. Run. To do that, to not switch it up, to not feel pressured to switch it up, to not feel pressured to mix a pass in there, to not feel like I need to get Mac Jones, a few throws here and there. There's only one coach that can do that and would do that and has done that in the past 40 years. And it's Bill Belichick. And in a game like this, it made sense to do that. It really did. And it paid off for them. And it's as simple as that. It really is. I mean, I said it before and I'll say it again. Bill Belichick, A+ game from him. A++. This was his best game. You could say in a really long time. Like this might be Bill Belichick's best coaching job since the Rams Super Bowl. It might be in a singular game. I dare any of you to name a game Bill Belichick coached better in than this one since they beat the Rams in that Super Bowl 13-3. And they lined up and they just decided we don't care about your run defense. We don't care what your offense. We don't think your offense can beat us. And they were right. I mean, right down to the end. Now, again, Patriots go up 8-7. Okay, they go up 8-0. Bills come back down. N'Keal Harry muffs a punt. It's like, okay, wow, latest in a long line of things N'Keal Harry has done to not endear himself to New England fan base. Muffs the punt, gives Buffalo perfect field position. Very next play, or 2 plays later, whatever it was, Josh Allen, Gabriel Davis touchdown. It's 8-7. Okay, so you're in a good spot because 2 minutes left in the first quarter, right? The Buffalo's punting to you. The wind is working against you. N'Keal Harry catches that punt. You just run it 3 times. Then all of a sudden the field flips. Buffalo's working against the wind, and all of a sudden their offense can't move as well. Okay, that's what would have happened. Instead, N'Keal Harry muffs it. Buffalo gets one more drive in the first quarter with the wind at their backs and a short field to boot, very short field, and they punch it in. So it goes. So it's 8-7. Okay, that's where you felt a little bit. That one stings a little bit. Patriots go back down. They kick a field goal. 11-7. Goes into the half. 11-7. Okay. Bills eventually get the field goal, make it 11-10. Patriots make it 14-10. They never lost the lead. They never trailed in this game. It never felt like the Bills were putting too much pressure on you. It was for considering everything, considering the conditions, considering the spot. It was kind of smooth sailing. If I had told you that the Patriots were going to go into Buffalo, they were never going to trail in that game, and they were going to beat Buffalo and not have to fight for it in that sort of way, everybody would have been shocked. But because of the way the game played out, because of the conditions at play, that's what happened. It's Gear. I see you in the chat. But I'm throwing the Matthew Slater, oh yeah, in there. I see Harris has an interview right now, which probably means he is okay. That's obviously he was dealing with that hamstring, and he had the big game, so you definitely hope Damien Harris is okay. Saying, but the Patriots, not as many teams have the patience to call this type of play and call that type of game. And saying, I'm nervous about Dame and Phillips. And certainly, if you lose Damien Harris, I still feel like Ramondre Stevenson's there, so it's not the end of the world. And Phillips, the benefit is that you're deep at both of those positions, right? Like Bolden's played well this season. Ramondre Stevenson has played well this season. And then at safety, Duggar's out with COVID. He was out with COVID this game, but he should be back. You're going to have the bye week, so he should be back for the Colts game. And, you also have McCourty, obviously, at safety, different roles. But, Duggar can play that role once he comes back. So the benefit of being deep there is that, Phillips has played great this season. Damien Harris has played great this season. You really would love to have both of them, especially Phillips, because, as you said, Damien Harris, he might be okay. Phillips, he was down for a while, exited the game. They started to show him on the sideline. You started to wonder, what's his deal? Is he going to be okay? So Adrian Phillips could be a big loss, but we'll see. Hopefully they'll still have him because he's a big part of that defense. Has played really well this season, but we're just going to have to wait and see what develops. As far as the game goes for the Patriots, again, it could not have worked out any better. And it feels like, and this isn't to take credit away from the Patriots whatsoever, but it feels like a lot of things have just in a lot of ways, and I'm going to say it like this, it sounds a little better. It's just their year. It's just their year. And, for as much as some things haven't worked in their favor, whether it's the way that the Dallas game ended or the way that the Buccaneers game ended, the fumble against the Dolphins, yes, they've certainly had their fair share of breaks that didn't go their way. But you face the Browns and you blow them out and they don't have, Chubb, and they're depleted. And you face the Falcons and they don't have their best weapon, Cordell Patterson. They don't have Calvin Ridley. All you have to worry about is Kyle Pitts. And you face the Titans and they're without Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown and, Julio Jones. And now you face the Bills in perfect conditions for how your team is built. Perfect. Did Bill Belichick go into that, what is it? The Farmer's Almanac or whatever that thing is, where you can check weather patterns and predict what the weather might be in a certain location a year out and said, all right, I need to build my team like this so that I can go into Buffalo because it's going to be windy and this and that, and I'm going to be able to win. And is that what it's supposed to believe? Or is it are they just catching the breaks and it's just their year? And hey, it just being your year, you take that 100 times out of 100. If it's just your year, then that's the best way that a lot of teams have won Super Bowls. And who knows? Patriots could win another one the exact same way. Duvall saying the Eb's free NBA picks were spot on. Shout out to Eb and his free NBA pick series that he does mostly every day on the channel. I think every day even. It's Gear saying one of the reporters asked Poyer, the safety for the Bills, Jordan Poyer, how he felt about the Patriots running all over them, and he got all mad and walked out after. I'm gonna need to see that clip. I don't know if you can maybe DM it to me. It's Gear, and I'll try to watch it on the stream a little bit. But yeah, I need to see that. I wouldn't be stunned that the Bills were upset at that comment. I mean, look, their run defense got burnt a couple times. Damian Harris certainly that big play that he had. The longest run for the Patriots since '97. That one play alone, unforgivable. Okay, no question about that. Unforgivable if you're Buffalo to get ran on like that and have them burn you for what was it, 64 yards, something like that, 64. And so from that standpoint, no question about it. Can't allow that to happen. And shame on the Bills for letting that up, because you knew it was going to be a running game, and you just blew your defense just totally gave up that massive hole when you didn't have a safety back. That's unacceptable, clearly. Okay, but other than that, the Patriots offense wasn't moving a whole lot. The Patriots only scored that one touchdown in the game. So I'd understand Jordan Poyer being a little upset about it. At the same time, I don't know, outside of Damian Harris, Brandon Bolden and Ramondre Stevenson combined for over 100 yards, just those two by themselves. Right? I know the Patriots ran the ball an awful lot. Ramondre Stevenson didn't have the best game, but what they have, 28 for, off the top of my head, let's see, 28 for 106. Not the best yards per carry, but, throw Nelson Aguilar 6-yard carry on there. I don't know. I mean, it was, at the end of the day, the Bills defense, I'm sorry, Jordan Poyer, if you're going to get all upset, but you guys weren't good enough today. In a game like this, it was going to be low scoring. I don't care that you held the Patriots to 14 points. You need to be better. Because this was a game that was built for defenses, and you were playing a rookie quarterback who didn't throw the ball. Understand this. You gave up 14 points. Congratulations. Do you want a trophy? Do you want an award? You helped the Patriots offense to lower than average for them. You in a game where I'm trying to think of the how exactly I'm supposed to phrase this, because I just had it in my head and I flew out of there for a second. In a game where, honestly, the opposing team's quarterback threw the ball 3 times, you lost. We all know how it happened. We just saw it for our own eyes. But pretend you didn't just see what you saw. If you consider yourself a good defense in the NFL, how do you allow a team to, I don't care what the context is, how do you allow a team to run this army, whatever game plan, the worst college that just runs the ball all the time, this high school, literally. And I know some people have used that to mock the Patriots this season. I'm not doing that at all. They called a great game. How do you allow a team, if you consider yourself a good defense, to pass 3 times and beat you? I don't care what your offense did. This team only had to pass the ball 3 times and they beat you? That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. The Bills should be ashamed of themselves. Jordan Poyer shouldn't be walking out mad at a reporter for asking him that question. You should be embarrassed that Mac Jones only had to pass the ball 3 times and they beat you 14-10. And you never had the lead. You never even had the lead. It should be embarrassing. I hope he's embarrassed. I really hope Jordan Poyer is embarrassed, because he should be. The Bills should be after that performance. Let's give more context on the Poyer thing. They were asked if their performance against the run was embarrassing. Hey, I just said it. It was. I'll answer the question. Yes, it was. The Bills performance was embarrassing today. It was. I mean, look, I personally think that based on the conditions, the right team won this game. The Patriots are built better to play in this game than the Bills are. But even still, how in Buffalo, how are you not ashamed of the fact that the Patriots just like Bill Belichick just pantsed you on national TV? Bill Belichick just basically said, "Yeah, we are so confident in ourselves. We don't need to, we don't need to pass the ball. We can just hand it off every single time, and you're not gonna be able to do anything about it. We're just gonna beat you that way." It's crazy. It's ridiculous. That kind of game plan. Like I'm telling you, only Bill Belichick would have that kind of game plan. Only Bill Belichick. There is no other coach that has what it takes to come into a game and do that. That has, any other coach would be looked at like like an insane person. Like people would want to put them in an insane asylum, especially with how pass happy the league is now. Like people love airing it out. It's all about the quarterback. It's all about Patrick Mahomes. It's all about Aaron Rodgers. It's all about Tom Brady. It's all about the deep passes. Tom Brady's the MVP favorite because he leads the league in touchdowns, leads the league in yards. The quarterback that scrambles around and does everything. You could not have had a game that de-emphasizes the quarterback more. And you know who loves that? You know who just gets off on de-emphasizing the quarterback? Bill Belichick. He loves it. Oh, we won a game and our quarterback threw 3 passes. Can you think the only thing that would make Bill Belichick happier is if Mac Jones threw 0 passes? Like really, to be able to go do that on national TV when he had Tom Brady and all this stuff about him letting Tom Brady go and all this stuff. And he goes on ESPN Monday Night Football against the team that everybody was picking in the preseason to come out of the AFC because they have Josh Allen and he's this quarterback on the rise. And he says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to beat you and pass the ball 3 times. How do you like that for a quarterback play? How do you like that? Bill Belichick feeds off of that. Like that is Bill Belichick porn right there. He loves it. He can't get enough of that. That is chef's kiss. Beautiful. Like there's nothing that could possibly be better. I see more of you guys in the chat. You think the Bills winning tomorrow? What do you mean next week or something like that? I'd have to look at their schedule. I forget who the Bills have coming up. I know that they have a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way. I think they still have to play the Jets at least, once or twice for the rest of the season, just once at the end. Buccaneers next week against Tom Brady. I mean, how beautiful is that, really? Shout out. Can we just give a round of applause? Round of applause to the NFL schedule makers because the Bills, after 20 years of torment at the hands of the Patriots and Tom Brady, they finally felt like they were back on top. They were the team in the AFC East. It was their AFC East to run now. And they had a year of it. And they were great. And they were right there. So close to the Super Bowl. So close. And they lose. And they come back the next season and they say, we have a year under our belt as a real contender. And we're going to go back at it. And we're going to go out and we're going to do it this year. And they lose to the Patriots to fall a game and a half back in the division. And the week after, this demoralizing, deflating loss where you felt like we had it. This was supposed to be our time, and the Patriots are back again. Oh my gosh, and it's just you feel so defeated by losing to the Patriots and them being the ones to beat you, and they're back on top of the AFC East. And you pick yourself up and you dust yourself off and you say, okay, we can still turn the season around. And who's staring you down for your very next game after the most demoralizing loss for your franchise in some time? But Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the NFL schedule makers. Not that they could have planned the Patriots being good. Not that they could have planned them beating them in such a fashion on Monday Night Football. But to put Tom Brady right after the Patriots, talk about cruel and unusual. I don't know who in the NFL offices hates the Bills, but so it's someone, because that is just me. Oh my goodness, that is unfortunate, Buffalo. Unfortunate, and it's on the road no less. So you have to go into Tampa. You're probably going to lose. You're probably going to fall 2 games back in the AFC. Then you play the Panthers, but guess what? You come back and play the Patriots again in Foxborough, and if you don't win that game, now your season's really down the tubes, because all of a sudden you could be talking about the Bills sitting at, what are they right now, 7-5? We could very easily be talking about the 8-7 Bills in 3 weeks, and all of a sudden you might not be in the playoffs anymore, buddy. Like, so I'm talking about 8-7, okay? 8-7. Guess who's knocking on the door of 8-7? The Miami Dolphins are 6-7 right now. The Miami Dolphins, quietly, winners of 5 straight. The Miami Dolphins. Guess who else is knocking? The Raiders are 6-6. Broncos are 6-6. They're still around. They're still around. Only right at 500. If the Bills are 8-7, one of those teams can catch up. And don't forget about those teams down in the AFC North. Right now in the AFC, among non-division winners, there are 6 teams competing for 3 wildcard spots. Really, I mean, actually, I got that wrong. There's 7. And if you want to throw 8 in there, you can throw the Dolphins in there. 8 teams competing for the 3 wildcard spots. Really, what you're looking at is you have the Chargers are going to make it. You have the Bengals and the Steelers and the Browns and the Raiders and the Broncos, and who knows what's going to happen there. But essentially, if you're the Bills and you're 8-7, and you have all these teams that are sniffing, contention, you could be looking at 3 weeks' time being out of the playoffs and having to seriously be concerned. Like, the Bills might miss the playoffs this year if they lose to Tampa, who I think they probably would at this point, and lose to the Patriots in Foxborough. That is the story on the Buffalo Bills. That is not great, as they would say. Patriots, meanwhile, things are looking up for them. So yeah, NFL schedule makers, round of applause for really just screwing the Buffalo Bills. Wow, very impressive. But yeah, I mean, the AFC wildcard race is going to be a nightmare, which is why it is so fantastic and great for the Patriots that right now, if things go like they're supposed to and they take care of business, they shouldn't have to worry about that. They shouldn't have to be concerned with all this craziness that's going to happen in the wild card, because they are in prime position to win the division. So they've done it. I mean, congratulations to the Patriots. They put themselves in a premium spot, and not just a premium spot. Now we're talking about fighting for a first-round bye, and what do you have ahead? Colts, tough game, but, still Carson Wentz. How do you deal with that? It's going to be tough, I'm not going to lie. You got Carson Wentz, you got Frank Reich, who's given Bill Belichick some problems in the past. I'm not going to act like that's an easy game. Jonathan Taylor, obviously one of the MVP, one of the MVP candidates at the very least, along with Tom Brady. So, yeah, that's a good team. It's a good team in Indianapolis. It's going to be a tough one. But then you have the Bills at home. So you just beat them on the road. Now you got them at home. Let's see how that goes. And then you have the Jaguars. It should be a pretty easy win. And then from there, it's Miami. And again, you cannot lose to Miami. You got to at least split with Miami. I will accept nothing less. So, really, I mean, it's all lining up for the Patriots. It really is. And if you get a first-round bye, if we're starting to talk about this, look, it's not going to be easy, because the Chiefs, the Ravens, both 8-4, and the Titans 8-4, all those teams are really gunning for the number 1 seed. And look, you're all within. Despite the fact that you won tonight, you stayed in first. You're half a game up on those guys. Okay. So if you want the number 1 seed, you're going to have to fight for it. Like, you're going to have to at least go 3-1 minimum over these final 4 weeks. The way some of these teams are playing, like the Chiefs have won 5 straight. you might have to go 4-0. You might have to. I mean, if the Chiefs don't lose again, if the Ravens, if they turn around and start playing well again, if the Titans get healthy, like they have their bye week this week, it's gonna be tough. And by the way, I said what did I say? 8 teams competing for 3 wildcard spots. I forgot about the Colts too. Throw the Colts in there because I was looking at the standings. I missed the AFC South. I was only looking at three quarters of it. Colts are in there too. Colts are fighting for it. So honestly, I mean, and again, not to bring it back, but if the Bills lose to the Bucs next week, the Bills have to start worrying about even making the playoffs this year, which is kind of hilarious. But sorry, Buffalo. But yeah, that's the situation the Patriots have put them in. Like right back on top, table flip. Like you Bills thought they had them, and nope, sorry. All right, Phil, I see you in the chat. Phil saying Mac did a great job, only 3 passes, but managed the game well. Phil, I don't know if I can even agree with you. Like Mac Jones, the best thing I can say about Mac Jones is that he did what he was told. He didn't try to overextend. His QB sneaks worked, even if it was a close call in that 4th and 1. Mac Jones just kind of handed it off today, and that is perfectly fine. I think a lot of people, for one thing, people mentioned it was going to hurt his Rookie of the Year case. Maybe, yep, it might. And honestly, that one might come back to bite you for Rookie of the Year, which could be a shame, but maybe not. Maybe it won't. It depends how he finishes the season. At the end of the day, does that really matter? Does it matter a ton? This was the best game plan for the team. As far as giving him credit, I can't give him credit. He just did what the coaches told him to do. This is all credit to Bill Belichick and the coaches in this one. Mac Jones, yes, he handed it off, but is that managing the game? Did he manage the game or did Bill Belichick manage the game? It was really Bill Belichick in this situation. So I'll give it to Bill rather than Mac. It's Gear saying, if Mac Jones doesn't win Rookie of the Year because of this game, I think it was well worth it. Absolutely. Would you rather have the division? Would you rather have a potential first-round bye or Rookie of the Year? It's not a question. It shouldn't be a question, okay? If it results in a Super Bowl, if it doesn't, blah, blah, blah. It's like, in a nutshell, if you don't know, which you don't, what do you more care about? Your chances of winning a Super Bowl or your chances of winning Rookie of the Year? It's your chances of winning the Super Bowl, even if they're smaller. Okay? Phil saying, Patriots could have been 11-1 right now. We're not going to play this game again. Yes, they could have this game, that game, field goal, fumble, whatever. Yes, the Patriots could have easily been 11-2, certainly. But the fact that they're not, you gotta play from here. We can't keep going back in the past. And right now, it's awful fun to look at the future. And yes, Phil saying, well, I should have beaten Miami, Dallas, and could have beaten Tampa. Yeah. Okay. BPDMF saying, Patriots not passing scares me for the future. What made Brady great was his bad weather ability to still pass well. How long will Mac last throwing 3 passes in bad weather playing on New England? I've heard this a couple times too. Like, I'm not concerned about this in the slightest because Mac Jones hasn't been throwing 3 passes in every game this season. Like, it hasn't happened, I understand what you're saying about, well, this was his first bad weather game, and what's he going to look like in bad weather games? Like, this was an exception to the bad weather game thing. Like, this wasn't your everyday run-of-the-mill bad weather game. This was like, batting down the hatches. We're going down, like, kind of bad weather game. Like, you're dealing with those kind of wins today from in Buffalo. So I really don't think it's fair to say, like, oh, well, you got to be concerned about Mac. How 3 passes. How's he going to do that every night? He's not. He's not going to do that every night, I mean, Josh Allen threw 30 passes. He had 50% completion percentage. He had 145 passing yards. Why? Because of the conditions, Would you rather win and throw 30 times, or win and throw 3 times, or lose and throw 30 times? Like, this was the right game plan for the Patriots today. If the Bills had a better running game, maybe they would have done the same. I can't speak for Buffalo, but I mean, that at the end of the day, what are we talking about here? And Mac's a rookie quarterback. You're protecting him a little bit too. Fine. That's okay. It didn't make a lot of sense to throw in this game. It didn't. Do you think if Mac Jones threw the ball in this game more, that it would help the Patriots? I don't. And that's okay. It's okay. I don't think this is going to be their approach every time there's a bad weather game. But when there's 50-mile-per-hour winds, maybe you take a little bit of this approach. The Bills had to keep it short. They couldn't air it out. They didn't air it out. Like Josh Allen today, he had his lowest passing yardage total of the season. He did. He had his lowest passing yardage total of the season this year. He's only had less than that many attempts. Like maybe 3 times, and they're all blowouts this year. Like, it just hasn't. That's not been their approach. He had his worst completion percentage of the season. So, I mean, it wasn't a pretty game for Josh Allen. It's not like Josh Allen was on the other side looking like an MVP. He wasn't. 50% completion and, his fewest yards of the season, 150. By far his fewest yards of the season. So, really, it just made sense at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to. So, I mean, for as bad and as inaccurate as Josh Allen is, and people mock him, like saying, especially early in his career, he's only had handful of games with a worse completion percentage than that. Like 6 or 7 maybe games where he's been under 50% completion percentage. It hasn't happened often for him. So, yeah, I mean, Mac Jones was, outdone on the stat sheet, but does that matter? I mean, Mac Jones has if it ends up being that way, then we'll talk about it then. But this is one game right now, and I'm going to take it as one game plan for one game against the Bills because of very specific weather conditions that forced you to play this way. And guess what? It worked. Like if the Patriots had lost and Mac Jones had thrown the ball 3 times, then we'd be talking about it. Then we'd be saying, was that dumb? Was that the right game plan? Is Mac Jones limited? Is he actually good? Can you, whatever. We could have those conversations. We're not going to do it when the Patriots just beat the Bills on national TV in Buffalo with this game plan that Bill Belichick drew up and was perfect. It was excellent. Fantastic. Beautiful. Executed to perfection as well. You give Bill Belichick credit today. That's what you do. You can't blame him for winning the game, going out there and winning the game, which is what it was at the end of the day. So, and I'm certainly not going to do so. If Mac Jones has to throw the ball 3 times for the Patriots to win a game, I'm taking that all the time. I'm not concerned about what it means for Mac Jones. Also, I'm not really concerned about it messing with Mac Jones or his confidence or anything like that. Like, Mac Jones seems like a guy that's pretty mentally tough. He doesn't let a lot phase him, whether it's bad plays or losses or whatever. It seems like he's pretty, he doesn't, have emotional highs and lows and everything. It seems like he's pretty steady guy. He's not going to let a lot affect him. So I'm not worried about that. That's Mike saying it was a brilliant game plan. We don't need Max to throw the ball 20 times to win. Our defense, running game, and O-line made sure of that. A win is a win is a win. Amazing game plan. End of story, man. I take this 7 days a week if we get the W. That's what it comes down to. And that's a lot of what I just said. It's if running the ball 50 times is the answer, then that's the answer. And it was today. And I'll tell you what, Damian Harris and that Thunder and Lightning combo, or Thunder and Thunder, whatever they're calling them, Harris and Rondre Stevenson, that is working wonders. And Harris with his best game of the season, arguably, I mean, statistically at least, his best game is as a Patriot. That was certainly up there near the top of his game. I think it might be his career high in rushing yards. I need to double check that. Certainly his season high. He had one game last year against Baltimore where he was a little higher than that. And against the Jets, he had the 2 touchdowns, 106 this year. But really, I mean, this is up there. I mean, despite the fact that a lot of it came on that one chunk play, Damian Harris was the offense tonight. He was the offense. It was the biggest contributor. Obviously, the O-line gets a lot of credit for that too. But Damian Harris, special game from him. So you got to give credit where credit is due there. And that's another king of this game. You got Bill Belichick, Damian Harris, and some of the things the defense did, which are great. Matthew Judon continues to be a menace, and honestly, should be getting more buzz for Defensive Player of the Year than he is. Nick saying McDaniels should have run some bootleg plays in the red zone for Mac. Why, Nick? Though why? Like, and I see Mike in the chat already saying he disagrees. You won. Like, if you had lost, go for it. Say that. Say it. But do you really think I would have helped out anymore? Like, it would have just risked Mac throwing the ball, and then all of a sudden, who knows where that ball is going with the wind, gusting back and forth. Do you all remember that Nick Folk field goal? Like, do you remember Nick Folk's last field goal? That is how bad the wind was today. It was just like all over the place. You don't know what's going to happen when you put the ball in the air. And, when it's Josh Allen who has a rifle versus Mac Jones who's, in all fairness, we're being fair here, we're being neutral, we're being just the observers. Mac Jones's arm strength isn't on par with Josh Allen's. We're just talking about arm strength. Mac Jones more accurate? Sure. All that stuff. But the arm strength is one of the bigger knocks on Jones, and it's one of Josh Allen's best traits. So you have to give that to Josh Allen. And in a game like this, it helps. But when you have Mac Jones and that arm strength isn't there, and that ball can float around a little bit, it's not as helpful. And again, was this all the win? No. But did you see the throw to Jonnu Smith? That thing barely got there. That was an adventure. So I don't mind the game plan. I really don't. If Mac Jones comes out against the Colts and he looks terrible and he can't find a rhythm, okay, bring it back up and we'll talk about it again. But right now, it's not concerning at all. Not concerning whatsoever. And to their credit or whatever, to their benefit perhaps, they have a bye week. So, hey, you have a couple weeks here, get back in a rhythm quickly, you get back in a rhythm in practice, whatnot, and you forget that you even only threw the ball 3 times against the Bills. So I'm not worried about Mac for those reasons. Whatever you have to do to get the win at the end of the day. And that's what they did. So they now sit top of the AFC, and this was the pinnacle. It really was. And I'll get to it. I see Christopher saying the throw to Smith was an audible call by Mac, if I'm thinking of the right call. I don't know. I can't speak to that, Christopher. I honestly did not see it that way myself. I don't know if that's being reported out there. Other people are saying that. But, I think many people expected them to mix more of those passes into the game plan to say, all right, we're running it. Like, yeah, we're going to mix a pass in here or there because the Bills defense likely would play entirely up, allow something open. Like, that's the whole reason you run is to set up play action, all this stuff you hear, cliche stuff about football. And they just never passed it. And were the Bills just always ready for it? Or, what was the deal? But Mac, it being an audible by Mac, that surprises me. I would be surprised to hear that because it seems like Mac just did what the coaches told him to do, and the coaches just wanted him to run the ball. So that would surprise me to learn that information. But I would say this, that, it could perhaps speak to why Mac didn't throw so much because that didn't go too well. But I would be very surprised to hear that one of the only real pass plays they called all game was not even a play call by Bill Belichick. Their most successful pass play of the game, without a shadow of a doubt, wasn't called by Bill Belichick, and they just were going to run it on that play as usual, and that was going to be that wasn't even going to be in the game plan. They were going to pass it even less than 3 times today. That would surprise me, but who knows? And Christopher saying when a Pat taps his ear holes and says alert, it's an audible. It could have also been a protection shift, Christopher. He could have been telling someone to stand and block. He could have been telling someone to shift or something. Like it could have been more than it could have been something else besides opting out of or audibling out of the run or anything like that. So I understand what you're saying there about Mac Jones calling the alert there, but I'm not necessarily convinced that was him opting out of the run or audibling out of the run, rather. Phil saying Air Mac will be back next game with 35 pass attempts. And Mike saying no doubt Mac throws over 250 next game. And I think that there's a chance of that. I mean, look, the next game, Indianapolis, you're playing in the Dome. I mean, dome is, again, today with the conditions, that's a running game. When you're in a dome and you're Mac Jones, that's a passing. Like that is a game where the game plan is to pass, especially against this Colts team. So if the Patriots go into that game and have the same game plan, I'd be a little surprised. But I think the great thing about this Patriots team is they have so many different faces. They can play in so many different ways. And so you can say it's a little weird they only threw 3 times. That's not good for Mac Jones for this reason or that reason. Let's see what they do next game, because they're going to need him next game. They should throw it a lot more next game. How's he going to look? Hey, last time out against Titans, they could throw on the Titans. The Titans are one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL, and what happened? Mac Jones had a career high in passing yards. Completion percentage over 70%. This game, different story. You run the ball, it works, you win. Next game's when you pass. Really, who cares how you win? Who cares how it happens? Who cares what the stats are? I doubt Bill Belichick cares. And honestly, I doubt Mac Jones cares. You think Mac Jones would rather throw the ball 30 times or win? What do you think Mac Jones was thinking today? I think he was thinking, I want to win the game. And this is the way to win the game. I don't think he cared that he passed the ball 3 times. I think if you asked him and you gave him truth serum, he wouldn't care. I think that's who Mac Jones is. I think Mac Jones has proven to all of us that that's the type of quarterback he is. That's the type of player he is. That's why the Patriots liked him. That's why they drafted him. That's why he's their quarterback this season as a rookie. That's why they cut Cam Newton. Because Mac Jones has the right mindset. He has the right attitude. And he doesn't care if you run the ball on every single play. He just wants to win. That's why he went to Alabama, right? Be a backup. Because he wanted to win. That's all Mac Jones wants to do. He has not done anything in his entire career that would lead you to doubt that his number one concern is winning. And I think that today was great proof of that too. He didn't throw the ball more than they asked him to. Mac Jones, yeah, he could have said, "No, I'm not running the ball every time. Give me a pass play." He didn't. That's not what Mac Jones does. Mac Jones wants to win. Yeah, that's it. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming out, joining the stream. Appreciate it. And I know we still got some people in here, but I think we're going to wrap things up unless anyone else has any more comments. I see Mike throwing one in there just as I'm saying that. We can beat any team at any time, any place, and anywhere. Very nice, Mike. I love the poetic element of this comment. We proved that tonight, coming into a hostile environment, playing a physical game, getting the W. Poetry, Mike. Really poetry. Love that comment. Frame that comment in the Smithsonian. Really, really beautiful there. And that's what it is. And look, this, again, this was a ramp up for the Patriots. It was, okay, fine. You beat the Chargers, but can you win 2 in a row? All right, can you win 3 in a row and beat the Panthers on the road? Stephon Gilmore, revenge game. Okay, fine. You did that. Can you beat the Browns? Can you beat the Browns, who were, playoff team from last year? Pretty good team, pretty good offensive line, all this stuff. But, one of the better defenses in the league. Oh, you blew them out? You dominated the Browns? Okay, well, hey, what, short week on the road, Atlanta. That's a tough spot a little bit, Can you, Matt Ryan, all those guys, you're due for a loss. Can you win that game? It's a trap game. You won that game. Tennessee, best record in the AFC. Mike Vrabel, not scared of Bill Belichick. Can you beat him? Win that game. Now, the final test in Buffalo. Aced it. The Patriots, quite literally, this season, the rest of the regular season, the Patriots don't have anything else to prove. The Patriots have nothing else to prove this regular season. I can't say it any more clearly than that. Against Miami, against Jacksonville, against Indianapolis, yeah, you have another game against Buffalo. If you lose, guess what? You split with Buffalo. Who's not going to take that? You have nothing else to prove. You've beaten all the teams that you played recently that you could have possibly. You on a 7-game winning streak. Yes, you lost to Dallas and Tampa. That was the beginning of the season. That was before the Patriots turned into what they turned into. Before they found their stride. Now that they've found their stride, they've won all the games they need to win. Did they do everything? No. Are they the best team in the league? No. I don't think they've proven they're the best team in the league. I think that's fair. But can they prove that this season with the rest of the games on their schedule? I don't think people aren't going to say that. No, 4 in a row. Another 4 will finish the season on a win streak. Maybe, but do you really expect me to believe that the Patriots can still prove something in games against Jacksonville and Indianapolis and Miami? They have nothing else to prove. With this game, this was the final test, and they passed it. And now you finish these last 4 weeks as strong as you can. You go into the playoffs, and that's when you prove it. That's when you prove the rest of it. You've proven you're a good team. You can't prove you're a great team until the playoffs. That's when you prove the rest of it. And you're going to get there at this point. That's where you're headed. That's their next test. Rest of the season, I'm not worried about, honestly. None of these games. Next time they prove something to me will be in the playoffs. Because to this point, I am completely convinced they are a good team. They are a really good team. I'm not going to know if they're a great team until the postseason. That's where we're going to find the next thing out. Nick, I know you're saying the Colts are still on deck. It's a tough team. It's a good running game. Jonathan Taylor might be the MVP. I'm not going to think any differently about them if they win or lose to the Colts. I'm really not. If they win or lose to Buffalo and Foxborough. If they lose to Jacksonville, if they lose to Miami, I'd feel a little bad. But if they beat those teams, it doesn't prove anything else to me. I expect them to win those games at this point. Expect them to win those games all season long. That's Mike saying see you in a couple weeks. Of course, Patriots got the bye week, so we're not going to have a stream, at least Patriots stream next week. Phil saying on the road, hostile environment and inclement weather conditions. Biggest win by far. I think you have to agree with that. A couple other games have been great wins too. Browns game, the way they blew them out, dominated a team at that level. Chargers game, big win against a really good Chargers team. But yeah, it's hard to argue with this one. The Colts will lose. Too simple. Come back in a few weeks. I'll be yelling, "Go Pats!" Phil and Mike having a good time saying, "Go Pats!" All right. I think with everything going on, I understand you guys are excited. Patriots have been playing great this year. They really have. And again, with everything they've done, I don't see any reason to believe anything other than this is a contender. This is a real contender, a real Super Bowl contender, honestly and genuinely. But I'm ready for the playoffs. I want the playoffs to start next week. I want the playoffs to be here already. Let's go. After this Bills game, they're a playoff team. Now I want to see what it looks like once we get there. I want them to host a playoff game. The only question is who are they going to face at this point? And that's all it comes down to. And Itzgear saying that he thinks the Dolphins are the real deal. They've won 5 straight, Itzgear. I don't know, but hey, guess what? It's the Bills are the ones that have to worry about the Dolphins now, with the way the standings are shaping up. The Bills are the ones that have to be concerned with Miami. Patriots, with this win, they're in a good spot. They're in a really good spot. They don't have to worry about it as much. Phil saying Dolphins will lose to the Titans and Pats. We'll see. Maybe those will be better games than we initially thought. And saying about the Dolphins, they have played some bad teams, but they look good. Definitely not an easy win. We'll see. I just think it's gear again. You're not going to lose both this year to the Dolphins. You got to at least split that. You have to. If you're a good team, and you are. If you're a good team, and you are, you split with a team like Miami. That's what it comes down to. Bucks will beat the Bills. Now, no worries about that. You guys are having fun. All right, we are going to wrap it up there. Got to wrap things up. Going on an hour for this live stream. I still have a lot to do tonight as we wrap things up in the big win for the Patriots. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel. Go watch Ev's videos, all that good stuff, all the stuff we have over here on the channel, Guy Wilson Sports. Good to have a Monday night with you guys. I appreciate you guys staying up with me for this one, for the post game after the late game. I know a lot of you probably have work in the mornings and other things to do in the morning, so appreciate you guys staying with this stream. And if you're watching the replay, shout out to you, because you're a real one for watching the whole replay of the stream as well. And you guys coming to hang out with me. I know the regulars, we're building a little thing here, and it's going to be fun. When I started doing these this season, I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know how good the Patriots were going to be. You know, was I just going to do this for a 7-10 team and that was going to be it? But now it's like, hey, we're going to have playoff streams. Like we're going to have playoff postseason streams, and those are going to be wild. Like those are going to be wild. How many are we going to have? Is it going to be one? Is it going to be multiple? Like I hope it's multiple. But yeah, those are going to be fun. I'm excited. I really am. So thank you guys for coming out and watching. As always, really appreciate it, especially the regulars. Like I said, Mike, Phil, It's Gear, all you guys that always come out and support the stream, support the channel. It means a lot. And even the guys that I haven't recognized as much. I haven't seen you guys around as much, but Christopher, Nick, all you guys coming out and talking. I know I don't want to miss the BP DMF. I've seen you a couple times too. You've come out to the streams as well. So I appreciate that, guys, as always. And we'll be back for the Colts game in a couple weeks. Maybe I'll do something next week too, just for kicks. Patriots stream for you guys sometime, talking about the season. Maybe a stream with one of the guys from Guy Boston Sports, talk about the games, whatever it may be. But appreciate you guys as always for coming out. Again, subscribe to the channel, do all that great stuff, and watch the rest of the stream if you missed some of it. If you still have that desire to talk Pats and everything like that. But appreciate you guys as always. We'll talk to you next time. Peace out.